I start? I'll start. So hello everyone. I'm Yota Kaoshima. I'm a research assistant at Monash University in Australia and ATL in Japan. And today we have two people, Ryoichi and Aniko. So first, Aniko, can you introduce yourself a bit?
Yeah, I'm Aniko Kuszar. I'm a PhD student at Monash University.
Yeah, next, Ryoichi.
Hi, I'm Ryoichi Watanabe at Kyoto University and PhD student.
Good, thank you. And today we are going to discuss a paper comparing theories of consciousness, why it matters and how to do it, published in 2021 in Neuroscience of Consciousness. And the authors, the first author is Del Pai, and the last author is with Cho. It's very difficult to pronounce the name, but like, Aniko, do you know how to pronounce it correctly?
So I don't exactly, but I think I would guess it's Virchon. I should maybe know because apparently he's a Polish researcher, and since I'm Hungarian, I am the most geographically close among us to them. But yeah, I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, as Nico mentioned a little bit, both of them are from, I think, Poland. Sorry, again,
Jagiellonian University.
Jagiellonian University in Poland, and some authors from University in Denmark, I think. And so next, I'll give you a bit of the summary of this paper. So the background is that there are a lot of theories of consciousness proposed in this consciousness research field. But the problem is that the individual researchers try to support their theories of choice with a kind of post hoc way. And this will, be beneficial in a sense, but if we consider, or if we want to promote the research consciousness field further, we need to compare theories and here the authors proposed a way to compare theories in a systematic way. Their proposed way consists of 6 steps. So first the first step is to define the theory scope, which means that different theories focus on different aspect of consciousness. For example, maybe some theory focus on only the content of consciousness. On the other hand, the others may focus on both level of consciousness and content of consciousness. And if we want to compare theories, then we need to compare the theory that focusing on the same aspect of consciousness. That's the first step. And then after that, in that step 2, we need to check whether the theories assume the same thing. And sometimes the assumption is quite different, so it's very difficult to make a clear prediction between them, I think. And that's the second step. In the next step, the step 3, we need to check in which part the theory differ. So maybe some theory says that I don't know, the frontal area is important. On the other hand, the other theory says the occipital is important, something like that. And then after that, in step 4, we need to think about, okay, how we can test these predictions. And here we need to think about the experimental paradigm. And after that, in step 5, we need to have a clear hypothesis from 2 different theories. And then in the final step, we test the theories and then interpret the results from the experiment and see whether which theories are kind of not correct, but explain the data well or better than the others. And I think this is basically what the author tried to says in this paper. So this paper itself does not have any experimental like a paradigm or results to support anything. This is just a suggestion for consciousness researcher, I think. Okay, that's a summary of this paper. And if you want to add anything on top of this, Aniko, Ryoichi, can you do it now?
Yeah, I guess they also mention, or kind of in the introduction, they point out or they give an overview about like scientific philosophy of science. So like how can scientific methods and paradigm be examined and improved? And I think that was an important aspect, or that is very interesting. And I was wondering if you guys have, how much did you have learned about philosophy of science in your education? Because I think it's, for me, it was, I had some lectures and I really enjoyed them. And I kind of feel like it would be more important, like it should have been more important or a more crucial part of the curriculum.
I see. It's okay. Okay, so I'll first answer to your questions. Because my background is engineering, not neuroscience, not psychology. So I have never taken any like a philosophy of science kind of class before. So my comment is just like, sorry, I don't know. And I do not have any experiences. So I think Ryoichi, he knows a lot more about this, I think.
Yeah. So my undergraduate degree is like arts and science. So I had a philosophy class, and I go to France to study the contemporary philosophy, to theory of mind or something. And yes, I learned the epistemology. It means science, philosophy of science. And so I agree with Aniko, and this paper is so learnful to think the science, or how to compare, or how to confirm the theory, scientific theory, or like yes. And also I won't add the summarize to Yota's one.
Yeah, so we can maybe continue with the questions.
Okay.
If you guys have any.
So this is not a question, but I know that there is a paper published this year, 2021, in Science. I think the title is "Making the Hard Problem of Consciousness Easier" or something. And there they says that there is a huge research project that tried to test or compare the two theories of consciousness, IIT and global neural space theories. So I think now we are at the stage of comparing the theory of consciousness, as we have a lot of them. And I think this paper kind of reflects that kind of situations. Yeah, that's basically my comments. Do you have anything, Aniko or Ryuichi?
I guess I was quite surprised about this number. The authors have looked up Google Scholar article, like they have looked up articles on consciousness research in the Google Scholar, and they have found that only 7% of the papers discussing either global neural workspace theory or IIT. So only 7% of the papers have discussed the two of them. And I think it's, yeah, I guess the authors also pointed out that it's a bit surprising. And yeah, for me, it was also quite surprising because, yeah, ideally, you would hope that people discuss competing theories or offer alternative explanations, at least in the discussion section. And the authors have used a very kind of allowing way to include papers. So it wasn't actually strictly just empirical research with the goal of testing these theories. But yeah, I mean, I on the other hand, I'm also, if I have to think about papers comparing different theories, it would be actually hard to point to anyone. So on the other hand, this number indeed reflects my experience as well.
Yeah, I think, yes, for my opinion, that it's, of course, I agree with you that the number of the paper about the comparison between theories is so small, and also I suspect that the researchers or we can compare between the IIT and the GNW. I think these theories see the different of the consciousness. Like the IIT means almost the level of consciousness, or the somehow, yes, a number or amount of the informativeness, and the GNW sees the neural or computational model of the consciousness, or something like the perceptual consciousness or reportable consciousness, something. So as the authors mentioned that, and I agree, and this comparison is difficult or hard, I think. It's my comment.
Yeah, I, in a sense, agree with you, Ryuichi, because in the paper, the authors compare global New York space and IIT in figure 1. And then after that, they started to explain their way to compare two theories. But there, they did not compare IIT and global New York space theory. And instead, they explain their own research published in 2020. And that reflects that it's not easy to compare IIT and global New York space theory, because if they can propose a way to compare these two theories, then I think they just explain it in this paper, but they did not. So yeah, and I myself feel it's a bit difficult to compare these two theories because of like some of course we can make some different predictions from these two theories. For example, the global New York space may requires like prefrontal or like occipital, no, sorry, not occipital, parietal kind of network. On the other hand, IIT predict that occipital and parietal network is kind of important. That's a kind of, yeah, that's the two possible predictions from IIT and global New York space theories. But that's just comparing the two limited aspect of theories, not the, yeah, the, I don't know how to explain it, but I am not sure whether these comparisons fully compare IIT and global New York space theories. So it's, in a sense, very difficult.
Yeah, so I was actually also thinking about this and wanted to ask your opinion. So for me, at least, I can't really say that I'm convinced that either the IIT or the global neural workspace theory is in a complete form. So I mean, I might be wrong here, but for specifically with IIT, I know that there will be a new 4.0 theory coming out, maybe I think in this year or soon at least. And also with the global neural workspace theory, I don't think it's in a completely finalized form. And one of the issues with comparing these theories, and I think one of the reasons why there are so many theories right now, and we haven't really reached this collective understanding of what are the main theories, because I think many of the consciousness theories right now still in this position of forming and morphing with new data coming in. And yeah, I think it's to be able to do this effectively, what the authors propose, to really assess and point out the similarities and differences, and then you would really need a clear-cut explanation or a clear-cut definition of the theory and these predictions. And yeah, are we there? I'm not sure.
Yes, I agree. Yes, in fact, the first step is the researchers we create or make the definition of the theories, which is able to compare. So I think there's some research about the comparison between the IIT and global workspace, and this research focus on the like the brain construction, so prefrontal cortex vs the perceptual hot area, the posterior area. But what's the consciousness? Sorry. Yes. So the research compared the factors they can compare only. So the IIT and so the research comparison between the IIT and GNW was there, but and we can integrate the IIT and GNW, but to compare or which one is better or something, we can't do that. So just I comment. But also the other comparison studies, I know that in this, as the author refers that the study Delphine et al. 2020 or something, they compared the theory of partial awareness hypothesis vs the recurrent processing, and the same perceptual experiment or task. So the GNW is difficult to compare the IIT, but the other theories explain the perceptual awareness or access consciousness or something neural process. We can compare. Sorry, there are some research comparing the GNW or a partial awareness hypothesis or recurrent process or something. So I think there is a theory comparable and non-comparable. So I think, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with Virchi that we can compare something that we can compare. And there are some aspects of theory that we cannot compare. So I don't know how we can deal with that kind of, these problems or issues. So I think the point of comparing these the two theory is not to say that, oh, this theory is true and this theory is not true. Rather, try to promote the further investigation. So this is a part of process toward purifying the theories. Not to, again, says that this theory is true and this is not, or that's my understanding. I think we all agree with this.
Yeah, although I think the final goal, like obviously we won't reach that anytime soon, but eventually some of these theories will be proven incorrect or just partially correct. And yeah, I think the final goal should be to at least have a reasonable set of, like a reasonable number of theories that may be true, and then we can actually focus on testing those. In that way, I think this paper actually points that out, or it raises these important issues that if we only just keep creating theories and every lab and every researcher just tries to come up with its own their own interpretations, then we just end up in a completely disintegrated field. So yeah, I guess it's also, but in that process, some theories will be regarded as incorrect or not reflecting the true nature of consciousness. And in that way, I think we should also be we should also accept that you know, as scientists, some of us, and almost most of us many times, are wrong, and that's part of science.
So I now feel like if there is one experiment that says that the prediction from one theory seems to correct, but the other does not, in that sense, can we, I don't know, conclude that the theory is like really reflecting the physical mechanism of consciousness, or there's some contamination in the experiment, and that theories just reflecting that contamination or not. So I don't know how we can deal with that kind of issues. Maybe one possible idea is to think of just a lot of experiment and then try exactly the same prediction from these theories. And then if we constantly get the same results, then maybe we can say that, oh, the theory seems to be true, but the others does not. So I think it takes a lot of time to verify one theories. This paper will, or at least this paper provide one way for the comparisons. So based on this, we need to do a lot of experiments and then get the results, and we will just accumulate knowledge, and then we can hopefully find something.
Yeah, so what you just mentioned, this issue of how can we choose what is the best theory, that is exactly or one of the main concerns of philosophy of science. And I think this is why it's important to kind of educate ourselves on this, because this idea of a theory should be falsifiable by Popper, and then shifting paradigms by Kuhn. And then Lakatos, the authors bring up Lakatos, like he also kind of worked on advancing these theories, and then also John Platt, like these. So there has been so much work on how a scientific field, any scientific field, can come to a conclusion and can advance itself. And I think it would be very good for us to understand these different theories and arguments on how to do science correctly. And yeah, maybe they don't, so the authors don't specifically or explicitly mention this, but I think by the fact that they have used quite a significant portion of the paper in discussing philosophy of science, they kind of, I think they would agree with the fact that we should also understand the theories or these how to think about science better, and that would actually likely result in better consciousness theories as well.
I see. Now I got why you raised that philosophy of science stuff in the summary sections. And do you have anything, Ryoichi?
Yeah. Yes, I agree with you, Aniko and Yote. And yeah, so for the better theory of consciousness, so we need to almost need two ways that the theory extended by the confirming research on research, and then like this comment, so compare the theories. So I think the authors mentioned that of course the researchers who make the theory confirm the theory to experiment to so the researcher extend the theory by studying to confirm the theory, and on the on the meta study, we will compare the studies. So the two-step is important, I think. Yeah, that's but I'm wondering the main or scientific theory is one is good. What do you think?
So sorry, what do you mean? I
mean I think for the natural science or physics, the main great or big theory is one, or small is better because it's real. It's the fact. But in the like something in the social science or art science, there are a lot of model or theories. So I think the authors or scientists have this one. This is the problem, I think. So I think the authors also refer the like the science, philosophy of science in this paper or in this field, I think.
I feel that kind of question reflect what do you want to predict. So if you aim to predict just the level of consciousness, and then if the purpose is only to detect whether subject is awake or not, the binary way. If we want to look into detail, let's say there is more than one state in non-conscious states, let's say like sleep or anesthetized and coma, and also within sleep we have some different sleep stage. So I feel like when we have theories or model, we have something that we want to predict, and the number of theories or model reflect just the difference between the prediction or what do you want to predict in a sense. And this can be applied to content of consciousness probably. So if you want to explain only the visual experience, maybe we can have a model for that or theories of visual consciousness. And on the other hand, if you want to explain only the auditory experience, then maybe we have different theory only for auditions. I think IIT tried to explain almost like everything, but there's something IIT may not be able to explain. So I think when we think about theories, it's very important what the theory tried to explain. And then the number of theory just reflect, again, the difference between these predictions. That's kind of my understanding. So what do you think about this, my interpretation or thought? Aniko, Yoichi?
Yes, I agree with this. So I think the IIT's aim is that like this the theory of consciousness, which can explain all aspects of consciousness.
Yeah, but I would, I agree with your interpretation. On the other hand, I think the fact that there are multiple models for multiple modalities, I think that kind of weakens the theories. Like, if you want to specifically be a general consciousness theory, then I think you should be modality dependent. So you should be able to explain auditory, visual, interoceptive, all these kind of informations. And yeah, I understand, or I see the merit in very like specifically describing modalities and how they handle information and what's their relation to consciousness. However, I feel that that's not enough, or yeah, that kind of yeah, it's more like there are these segments of consciousness, but that doesn't explain consciousness for me fully if there's no way to integrate between these. And yeah, if we cannot find regularities, and if we cannot predict, for example, if an animal of a certain neural build-up will have similar or dissimilar conscious experience to us.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, the reason why I kind of raised that kind of example is that I don't know, if you are an engineer and if you want to help someone who is blind, so based on some theories, maybe we can design some devices for recovering their vision. Then for these engineers, the theories are just enough. So I don't know. The point is that what you want to explain in the end. So if you want to explain the subjective experience, consciousness itself, then we need some unified and very theories for consciousness. But if you're just an vision engineer or like visual researcher, then they are just interested in like vision and not consciousness itself. So
yeah, no, I see that, and of course I think that's very important. Can I have a completely a bit of a different question? So I was wondering if but so do you guys feel like there's a like with these different theories of consciousness, when the authors have been talking about us as a field should set these guidelines or should use these approaches together, I was kind of feeling that, I mean, it sounds good and I would like to do that, it would be very good, but it's just such a diverse and yeah, very, very kind of a field of tiny units that are not really working together. But like, yeah, like it has been said before, people are just building up their own little palaces, and yeah, it's difficult. And I think especially as an early career researcher, you feel like there are so many theories, and before you can even start to compare these, you should know all of them. But then if you could just start to like, or at least for me, when I start to kind of count up and read up all of the different theories, I get very discouraged because it's just so many, and ranging from the very like likely most people have heard of this, like IIT Global Neural Workspace Theory. And then there are so many others that are somewhat similar, but not entirely. And yeah, it's like what the author suggests sounds a very good approach. Although, or on the other hand, me as a PhD student, I feel like I don't see how can I implement this. Yeah, or like I would like to implement it, but it seems like, yeah, such a huge task, like such a huge undertaking.
I think if we want to use this method, what we need to know is just we can compare only two theories at the time. So as long as we know two of them, as long as we know two theories of consciousness, then we can apply this approach. That's my understanding. But this guideline is good for promoting consciousness research, but as Ryoichi mentioned before, we can compare some aspect that we can compare. So I think there is always the other aspect that we cannot compare in this framework. So the problem is that, okay, then how we can test these aspects. And if we want to do that, maybe, I don't know, we can, how we can do that. That's my question or concern.
Yes, I agree with Nikos and Yoda. Yeah. So there are a lot of theories of consciousness, so we can't compare them. And in fact, in this study, in this paper, authors in the introduction section, the authors shows only four big theories of consciousness, like HOT and GNW and IIT and RP, but the other theories are not. So yeah, it is difficult problem, I think. And yeah, so the one I think one point, I think that biological validity is one approach for them, because in this field, normally in the experimental studies, the researchers confirm the theory by conduct the experimental research in the experimental room and experimental stimulus or something. So the theories for experimental situation of consciousness or something, if it is so, the one point is a biological or life situation or life like task of the life something, and compare the theories. But I agree that if so, there are a lot of studies important needed, and yes, and for the Yota's comment is, I think the IIT's important point is not the hot perceptual area. Its important point is the informativeness or like the complication or large informativeness, not the brain area, but the research compares the IIT's brain area and the GNW's brain area. It is, I think it is not the main point compare. So I agree with you. So this is my comment for Yota.
Yeah, but I think with this discussion, whether the whole brain or just the frontal areas or the posterior hot zone is important. I think that's more of yeah, like I think it's yeah, like what the authors also mentioned, and previously we have discussed that IIT is more coming from a theory-driven approach with axioms and yeah, like more about the phenomenology. And with global neural workspace theory, you have more of a brain network approach, and so yeah, so they are kind of trying to explain different things or coming from different directions to it. So yeah, I think with these what is the important brain region, that is more like an early approach to try to find a way of like a point of comparison for these theories. But yeah, like you said, I think it's no one thinks in the scientific field that will like undeniably decide between the two theories.
Okay, so we have already discussed for about like 45 minutes. If you have any further questions, can you ask now? Or if not, maybe we can wrap up here now.
So for me, I have again a more of a broader question.
Yeah.
So based on this paper, for me it seems that the consciousness research would need a bit more collaboration and like maybe a more centralized work. But on the other hand, maybe that's not the best way to move forward. And yeah, so as an example, particle physics has been working towards like large collaborations and you know, multiple sites and multiple laboratories working together. And I think that seems to be a very, very fruitful approach. And so it seems for me like, yeah, that might be a good idea. On the other hand, I don't know if consciousness research is in that stage yet where we could really benefit from you know, these very large scale collaborations, because I guess you would need very clear cut predictions. Yeah, but what do you think? Do you think so yeah, so I have two questions. Do you think consciousness research would benefit from like more larger scale collaborations, and will it happen in the next few years? What's your predictions?
Okay, so I'll first answer the question. I think that do we need the collaboration in consciousness research? I think when you say collaboration, does it mean like collaboration between researchers in IIT and global neural space theory, or the collaboration between like IIT person and like physiology researchers or psychology people, or what do you mean by the collaboration? I think the collaboration is very important as long as we are working on brain, because we have different aspects of brain, biology and information processing and anatomy, almost everything. So if we want to understand the consciousness or that is happening in the brain, we need very huge collaborations. But it's not clear for me what they mean.
Yeah. So what I meant is more like among consciousness researchers. So, you know, like I suppose then there used to be big conferences that are, or at least I haven't been to anyone for a while now, but I was told they have existed. But anyhow, so I guess like, you know, big conferences, big consciousness conferences were basically one way to kind of bring all the consciousness researchers together and give them a forum to come to a conclusion or come to some kind of guidelines or an understanding of what are we doing. And yeah, I mean, I don't think it happened yet, this, you know, clarification of our goals, but it would be interesting.
I see. So let's say we are in the very big consciousness conference and then try to find some researchers working on different theories. And then there, I'm not sure what we can do. Well, we can discuss some consciousness topics from different aspects. Let's say like from IT perspective and maybe from global network space theory aspect and higher order theory aspect. And we definitely can have a discussion there. But I don't know how we can go beyond that. Like, are you kind of expecting to have some unified theory, for example, or thinking of a unique experimental paradigm that tests all theories of consciousness? Or
yeah, so exactly. Like I don't expect one theory, but what I would like is, yeah, like a general, you know, a very low level subscription of like, or understanding of what would be the crucial aspect of any consciousness theory that without it won't be accepted among the valid theories or among the scientific theories of consciousness. And yeah, so what should we be able to do? How like, should we predict? Should be able to predict something? Should be able to, you know, describe the level of consciousness in you know, in humans? Like what are our kind of goalposts that we want to reach? Yeah, do you have any ideas about this, or maybe it's just me that I kind of feel like different theories have different end goal. Maybe most theories have the end goal to understand consciousness, but then the road towards that, it's like completely different. And yeah, I would like to have some uniting of these different paths.
Yes. I think, yes, I agree with you, and it is important for collaboration of the conscious research. And yeah, but I think it is also complex of the concept or definition of consciousness, right? We described the level of consciousness and content of consciousness or self-consciousness, something, and each concept have the like the theory of consciousness. So I think it is important to confirm or make sense of the relationship between the consciousness concepts, right? Level and concept and self or something. If it is not, we cannot integrate the theories of consciousness, which see the other other side of consciousness. So I think, and also I think it is important to the knowledge on the evolutionary and developmental consciousness now approach. So if now you saw I have to study my consciousness of development of consciousness study. So yes, there are a lot of theories consciousness of adults, but so the sorry. So do they explain also the children's consciousness or animals' consciousness? So if we can test them, we can we can make smaller, or we can find or something aspect of the consciousness, or we can approach near the fact or something, I think.
Yeah, no, I definitely see that. I think we should, like, it would be very good to also include developmental, so like small children, animals, but also it would be important to, I think it would be very interesting if more theories of consciousness would address death or dying, and also brain damage. I mean, so many theories are addressing it, but also like dementia. And so, yeah, like there are so many other aspects of or conditions of humans other than healthy adults sleeping. Yeah, that would be very important.
But it is possible that the theories of consciousness increase from now. Yeah.
So, like, I have a question to Aniko. So you said that we need, or it would be great if we have a collaboration among consciousness researchers. And my question is that, like, okay, then who do you want to collaborate with, Aniko? That's my question. So do you have any like idea, or just generally speaking, or?
I mean, if we are talking about ideas, I think it would be very cool for like PhD students and postdocs, so early career researchers who are not completely kind of, devoted to one theory, to kind of get together and work on ideas, because, and this might be a bit, I don't know, not very nice to say, but like, I think in many cases, people who have been working on their interpretation of a consciousness theory for years and decades, they are very involved and very motivated to protect it and to kind of uphold it, because it's their life of work. And on the other hand, I think with early career researchers are very likely in this state of maybe are not committed to one idea, but maybe more familiar with one. So yeah, I would like to go on an island, have a lot of ERCs of like consciousness labs, and then we could have fun and figure out things. I think that would be fun.
I see. So I think, if I remember correctly, now he organized a summer school 2 or 3 years ago in Japan, where there were a lot of postdoc PhD students all over the world. Almost everyone, think from different fields like philosophy, engineer, physics, and of course, neuroscience and psychology. And there they were discussing, I think, some theories of consciousness and then proposed some research project, I think. And he says that it works, it worked really good. So if we have a lot of money, or he can pay for that summer school or winter school, he will have another one in near future. But not sure, given the current situation. It's not easy to go abroad. So maybe in 2 years or 3 years, I don't know when. But yeah, it's a very good to have that kind of discussion within young early career researchers.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, so Ryuichi, do you want to ask anything? No? Okay, then we can finish here. Should we stop recording now, or okay?